Moon boys around the world are right now licking their lips at the thought of a large upside candle so big, so green, and so large that it will make the micro bulls richer than they've ever dreamed. But what if I told you that the real size of the next Bitcoin pump is actually not even that big, but it's actually mega big? So if you've accepted that the next pump isn't going to be big, but it's actually going to be even much bigger than everyone is expecting, hit that like and subscribe. Get signed up with FEMX below. No KYC or VPN required if you sign up using the links below. And without any further ado, it's absolutely not even large what's happening. It's completely insane. One of the first things we see as well is that Trump media is following MicroStrategy's playbook, announcing a $2.5 billion raise to buy Bitcoin. And as we've been discussing, I think MicroStrategy's current playbook is going to be the default for most of corporate America. I think it's going to be, well, first of all, it's a genius play. I think it's going to push Bitcoin to infinity and beyond, amongst about 100 other things. But this is only the very first few months of what I think is going to be the most bullish next year or two for Bitcoin, period. I think, the gains are coming big, and there's a million things highlighting this as well. If you would invert this chart, you would be thinking, wow, we've actually just broken down and we're about to, plummet. It's about to be the beginning of a bear market. But we're not inverted. This is actually the chart we're seeing. And what this looks like is exactly what we've been waiting for. A breach of those previous all-time highs. And what comes next, especially when you combine it with the macro climate, with the fundamentals that are happening around Bitcoin specifically, but also the fundamentals that are happening with risk on assets in general, with the stock market in general, with the money printer that's about to go banana mode. You combine all of those things, and you get a very clear picture of where we're heading, and the direction is up. For example, it happened with gold first. This time will not be any different. Bitcoin is also within a consolidation pattern before a massive a break to the upside. Altcoins are going to benefit soon, by the way, guys. I know everyone's kind of curious about that. I think altcoins are going to actually pump, but we see funding rates have turned negative. Bitcoin is trading at 110,000. That's interesting. Goes along with this theme that we are very aware of, that we are at $110,000 per Bitcoin, at all-time highs for Bitcoin, and nobody cares. Aside from me and you watching this video, which is a very, very small fraction of people, just everybody invested in crypto that watches it every day, I want to say maybe a couple million people max are like really tuned into these markets every day out of billions of people. Nobody's really bullish on this market. New people are not flooding into the space. People are not just getting extremely excited about the fact Bitcoin's at all-time highs. And that's also indicated by funding rates being negative currently. I mean, it's kind of insane that we are at all-time highs. And the real reason I think why retail is not super invested is because, or invested emotionally, is because they also are majorly in altcoins. I think a lot of the people that are in Bitcoin are people that have been invested in the market for a long time, or people that just understand why fundamentally Bitcoin has value. But we are at a place where the euphoria is like so low for being at all-time highs. The masses absolutely do not care that we are at all-time highs. And that is exactly why we're going a lot higher. We also see Vivek's Strive Asset Management just raised about $750 million to buy Bitcoin. We're going to see more and more stories of this every single day. Global liquidity keeps rising and Bitcoin is following. Next target is about 150K. Global liquidity continues to rise, and Bitcoin, I show this almost every video, but it's so important to keep looking at because it's been correct the whole time. I was showing this chart when Bitcoin was at like 75K like 2 months ago, and now we're at all-time highs. And it's going to go a lot higher. 400K potentially this cycle, right? With this actual adoption, if you would actually ask me if I have a target for this, let's say a target for 2025, anyone's guess, right? Like nobody has a crystal ball, and you can't guess exactly where it's going. But if I would have to take a guess where Bitcoin could go in just the next 7 months of this year, of 2025, north of 300,000, I think, is pretty realistic. And you might be thinking, oh, that sounds crazy. No, I don't think so. When you look at fundamentally what's happening, and if you start to understand that the masses, and even when I say masses, not even just retail, I'm talking about corporations and countries that are like showing a little bit of interest, but really have not dipped their tip into these waters yet. I don't know, man. 300K just seems like a pretty, I mean, for me, in my honest opinion, maybe a little bit conservative as well. I think things will accelerate massively, though, and that's why this is important. So, for example, if you look at where we've been over the last, let's actually look at a weekly chart. Over the past, this goes back to the very beginning of 2024, right here, when Bitcoin was at like 44K. One thing you notice, this is about a year and a half of data, a huge amount of time, about 8 months sideways. And then another huge amount of time, about like 4 months kind of sideways, if you include this, maybe 5-6 months of sideways. So much of these last 2 years or last year and a half specifically has been pretty much just sideways. And we have not seen, so far in this entire bull market, we have not seen the portion of the bull market where it just goes parabolic, like we have seen many times in the past. There are times, I mean, for example, here, back in 2020, massively parabolic there. Look at this, back in 2017, massively, just straight up for months and months and months. Even here in 2019. We have really not seen, I mean, the best example, I guess, is October to February, 2023 to 2024, this. But I mean, even that, look, we had weeks and weeks of sideways, a lot of sideways in general. We can do a lot better in terms of like just what you expect when the markets actually do go vertical. And we are long overdue, in my opinion, for the markets to actually go just straight vertical. And I think that we're very close to that. Again, nobody has a crystal ball, but I think that the timing of everything right now, specifically with the money printer getting turned on, I think is going to be the biggest catalyst, but just global liquidity watching that rise, it is very clear that we're about to enter, and that's all going to change too, because as I was just saying, interest in crypto outside of like hardcore people that spend every day looking at it, interest is still so low. People really don't care about it. Nobody's talking about it unless you're like addicted to crypto, which are people like you and me, right? But for the most part, people are not FOMOing in. Actually, I don't even know why I said for the most part. People are not FOMOing in as a whole, and that's going to change. That switch from like nobody caring to everybody caring is like a very quick turnaround. It can happen in just a few weeks, just a month or two. Why? Because what happens that makes everybody interested is this. You go from this to a move like this where it goes up. Let's say we go to $250,000 in a month or two. Those type of moves are exactly in the past what triggered people to FOMO into the market and get really excited, and people that were not previously invested to then become investors. That is what triggers it. And we, I think, are very close to experiencing that. You look at this weekly chart, we have all the setups necessary technically, but also fundamentally the strongest. This is fundamentally the strongest bull run we've ever had. And we're just so close to it, in my opinion. As well, if we look at this chart, you were not bullish enough, Mags, again, with maybe a $300,000 or so target. Absolutely possible. I think cycles could be changing this time. And I mean, even Standard Chartered has Bitcoin targets of about 300,000 by next year. And they have, I mean, again, if there is a typical bear market, then we will not just see new all-time highs for the next 4 years or 3 years, but maybe the cycles are dead. And in fact, as we talked about before, there's a lot of evidence that maybe the cycles are dead. But really, the stock market has made a nice recovery over the last couple of weeks and couple of months. Global liquidity continues to rise. There is every reason on earth, in my opinion, to be bullish on Bitcoin right here. Even if we get a little bit of a dip in the short term, does it really matter? Every time over the past 8 years that I've got on and said I'm bullish about Bitcoin, if you really look at it, it's just gone up. Yes, there's moments of dipping, but who cares? If you have a medium or long-term mindset, you are going to make a ton of money just buying Bitcoin, and that's it. And there's a massive opportunity for alts as well. But I think that's also going to sneak up on people. I think that, for example, ETH has just been performing horribly, right? ETH even is making a little bit of a move over the last couple of trading sessions. I mean, it's up about 4% right now. ETH is a very good indicator of altcoin health in general in the altcoin market, maybe even a little less so now because of how the market has been kind of diversifying or trying to pick a new winner instead of ETH. But overall, I mean, this is the time to get really excited about this, and especially more so than anything, be positioned. Things are about to get very big, and that's saying a lot considering we're at all-time highs right now. And I feel like I'm talking to the same couple thousand people that I've always talked to in the last two years. Meaning, like, this space is not being flooded with new people. Get signed up with FOMO below. No KYC or VPN required if you use the links in the description. Without any further ado,